Have you ever been completely blindsided by betrayal? You believed the relationship was stable. You trusted him. Nothing seemed seriously wrong. And then suddenly, you discover he cheated. At that moment, 1,000 questions rush through your mind. Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? Why would he destroy something that seemed so good? Most people simplify the answer and say men cheat because of lust, but that explanation barely scratches the surface. Lust alone is too simplistic. It treats infidelity as a single impulsive act, like a moment of weakness, rather than the result of a deeper pattern. The truth is much more complex. Men rarely cheat because of a single moment of temptation. More often, cheating is the final result of psychological patterns, emotional weaknesses, and a lack of inner discipline that has been quietly building over months, even years. From a Stoic perspective, infidelity is not simply about desire. It is about character, about self-mastery, and about emotional awareness. A man who acts on temptation without thought is not just making a mistake, he is exposing a deeper weakness in his ability to govern himself. Understanding this is crucial because it shifts the way we view cheating. It is not always about the woman being pursued or the relationship not being good enough. Sometimes it is about internal struggles, insecurities, and impulses that a man has never learned to manage. Today, we're going to explore 7 deep reasons why men cheat, starting with the first 2, and explain what Stoic philosophy teaches us about each. 1. Lack of self-mastery. One of the core teachings of Stoic philosophy is simple but powerful. A man who cannot control himself cannot control his life. Many men are never taught how to discipline their impulses. From a young age, they are encouraged to follow their desires or do what feels right in the moment, without learning how to pause, reflect, and make deliberate choices. When temptation appears, whether it's attention from another woman, flirtation at work, or a private message online, the immediate instinct for some men is to pursue it. They mistake the temporary rush of excitement for fulfillment, failing to consider the long-term consequences of their actions. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus emphasize that true strength lies in resisting impulse. Not every desire deserves to be acted upon. Acting on every fleeting emotion without reflection is a sign of weakness, not freedom. A man who cheats often isn't just lacking loyalty, he is lacking self-mastery. Without it, even minor temptations can feel irresistible, and small lapses can spiral into betrayal. The problem is not opportunity, it is the failure to govern oneself when opportunity arises. 2. The desire for novelty. Human beings are naturally drawn to novelty. The brain releases dopamine, the pleasure chemical, when we experience something new, exciting, or unpredictable. This is why the early stages of relationships feel so intense. Every date feels magical, every conversation feels stimulating, every moment feels fresh and exhilarating. But over time, the brain adapts to familiarity. What once felt exciting becomes routine. The relationship feels predictable. Stability, which is normally a good thing, can begin to feel boring for someone who thrives on excitement and stimulation. From a Stoic perspective, the appearance of novelty can become dangerously alluring. A new woman, a new experience, or even a new friendship can trigger intense excitement, not necessarily because of who she is, but because of what she represents: a break from routine, a rush of new feelings, a dopamine spike that temporarily fills an emotional or psychological void. Men who mistake novelty for happiness often fail to appreciate the deeper value of a committed relationship. They chase temporary thrills, believing the grass is greener on the other side, while failing to appreciate the emotional stability and trust that already exist at home. From a Stoic point of view, happiness is not found in chasing novelty or fleeting pleasure. True fulfillment comes from self-control, rational thought, and intentional living. Infidelity driven by novelty is often a failure not of love, but of character. 3. Ego and the need for validation. For many men, attention from women feeds the ego in a powerful way. Being desired makes a man feel attractive, capable, and important. It's not just a superficial feeling, it touches a deeper part of a man's sense of self-worth. Some men, especially those who haven't developed strong internal confidence, rely heavily on external validation to feel valuable. Each compliment, flirtatious message, or admiring glance becomes a confirmation that they are still desirable and competent. This desire to feel admired is natural, but when it becomes the primary source of self-esteem, it can lead to dangerous behavior. Even a man who loves his partner may find himself seeking approval from multiple women if his ego is fragile. Every new source of attention becomes proof that he still has it, that he is wanted, admired, and relevant. The problem is that this creates a cycle of dependency. Instead of building internal confidence, he becomes addicted to external validation. Over time, this addiction can slowly erode loyalty. A man may rationalize small flirtations as harmless, but repeated exposure to admiration outside the relationship strengthens the temptation to cross emotional or even physical boundaries. From a Stoic perspective, this is a failure of self-governance. True strength is measured not by how many people admire you, but by how well you control your impulses and remain grounded in your own values, independent of external approval. 4. Emotional disconnection in the relationship. While physical attraction often grabs attention, emotional disconnection is a subtle but powerful trigger for infidelity. Relationships are built on more than sex or physical chemistry. They thrive on emotional intimacy, understanding, and connection. When a man begins to feel misunderstood, constantly criticized, or emotionally distant from his partner, he may slowly withdraw. Communication becomes shorter, conversations feel mechanical or surface level. The bond that once provided comfort and support begins to weaken. In this state of emotional detachment, the mind starts seeking fulfillment elsewhere. If another woman enters his life who listens, appreciates him, or expresses admiration, it can feel like a breath of fresh air. What starts as a simple conversation, a joke, shared thoughts, or mutual understanding, can gradually evolve into emotional intimacy. This emotional intimacy outside the primary relationship often becomes the first step towards betrayal. It may start as innocent, a friendship, a connection that feels meaningful, but because the emotional need is unfulfilled at home, the attachment outside the relationship grows. Stoic philosophy teaches that true contentment comes from inner discipline and self-awareness, not from seeking validation from external sources. Emotional disconnection at home without self-awareness leaves a man vulnerable to temptation. 5. Opportunity without boundaries. Many affairs do not begin with a calculated decision, they begin with opportunity. A coworker who is overly friendly, late-night online conversations that gradually become personal, private messages that start casually but slowly build emotional tension. Without clear boundaries, these small interactions can evolve into something much more dangerous. The line between harmless interaction and betrayal is subtle, often almost imperceptible at first. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that wise individuals avoid environments that test their self-discipline. Temptation is always easier to resist when it is not present. Yet men who underestimate the power of opportunity often place themselves in situations where cheating becomes not just possible, but tempting. Once emotional or physical opportunity appears, weak boundaries meet desire, and loyalty can crumble. A small lapse in judgment can cascade into repeated infidelity if self-discipline is not exercised. Stoicism teaches that character is revealed in these moments of choice. A man's strength is measured not by his desires, but by his ability to act according to principle, even when the easier path would be indulgence. In other words, opportunity alone does not destroy a relationship. The combination of temptation and a lack of boundaries does. Men who fail to set clear emotional and physical boundaries make it easier for infidelity to happen. 6. Unresolved personal insecurities. Some men cheat not because they feel confident, but because they feel insecure. Deep down, they may doubt their attractiveness, their worth, or even their masculinity. These insecurities often remain hidden, sometimes even from themselves, but they quietly shape behavior in ways that can damage relationships. Attention from multiple women can become a way to temporarily patch these feelings of inadequacy. Each compliment, flirtatious text, or act of admiration becomes proof that they are still attractive, capable, and enough. A casual affair or flirtation can feel like a validation boost, a reassurance that their value is real and recognized. However, this is an illusion. External validation can never permanently fix internal insecurity. A man may feel temporarily reassured, but the underlying self-doubt remains. Over time, this creates a cycle. He constantly seeks attention from others to maintain the same fleeting sense of worth. Loyalty becomes a casualty of this cycle, as his self-esteem is tied less to commitment and more to external affirmation. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from inner security and self-discipline. A man who understands his value does not rely on others to confirm it. He cultivates confidence internally, rather than constantly seeking approval externally. Without this self-awareness, unresolved insecurities can quietly erode trust and fidelity, even in otherwise loving relationships. 7. Lack of purpose and direction. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that a man should live a life of purpose. Purpose gives focus, meaning, and structure to life. A man with a clear mission tends to guard his energy carefully, prioritizing his time, his reputation, and his commitments. But when a man lacks direction, life can feel empty or unfulfilling. In the absence of meaningful goals, temporary excitement becomes an easy substitute. Pleasurable experiences, including flirting, emotional attention from others, or even affairs, can seem like a solution to an inner void. Cheating, in this sense, is less about attraction to another person and more about an attempt to fill a gap in life's purpose. A man without purpose is far more likely to chase impulses because he has nothing significant to anchor him. Conversely, a man with a strong sense of purpose understands that discipline protects everything he is trying to build. He values long-term fulfillment over fleeting pleasure. He understands that chasing temporary excitement can destroy the stability and relationships he has worked hard to create. Stoicism teaches that a fulfilled and disciplined life reduces the likelihood of betrayal. When a man knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he wants, external distractions lose their power. The temptations that might ensnare a man without direction become far less compelling to a man with focus and inner strength. The true Stoic truth about loyalty. Loyalty is not simply about love or attraction, it is about character. A disciplined man does not remain faithful because he lacks opportunity. He remains faithful because he has developed the inner strength to control his impulses. He does not let fleeting desire override reason, integrity, or his own values. At the end of the day, your character is defined not by how you behave when life is easy, but how you act when temptation appears. A true test of loyalty is doing the right thing when doing the wrong thing would be easier. Cheating is rarely the result of a single decision. It is usually the outcome of small weaknesses that go unchecked over time. Lack of discipline, unresolved insecurity, emotional disconnection, and unchecked opportunity all combine to create an environment where infidelity becomes more likely. Final thoughts. Understanding these patterns is crucial for building stronger relationships and cultivating personal character.
Awareness allows us to identify risks, take responsibility for our choices, and develop the self-discipline necessary to maintain loyalty and integrity. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. Why do you think men cheat? Share your perspective in the comments below. If you found this discussion insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from this conversation. Until next time, stay disciplined, guard your character, and stay awake to the patterns that influence behavior, both in yourself and those around you.